So I've got two updates. One is that I found some little bit of information of who was at each table in terms of the Barbara Amiel Black, Lady Black's happy birthday party. And I also found connections that Jeff Epstein and um, the Hollinger Corporation's it's a financial division had the same legal representation, which is Kirkland and Ellis. It's the largest law firm in the United States. And right now, you have the most alumni from Kirkland and Ellis in the Trump administration. Um, so we're going to get to that in just a hot second here, once I can find that article. Uh, Here it is. So the globeandmail.com, Canadian business reporting newspaper. It is a article from May 8th, 2007, and it was updated April 25th, 2018, which is very interesting that it would be updated being this long. It says that its source is from court documents, so I would like to find more on that. But it looks like it has. So all of this stuff is in depositions and evidence somewhere in the court. So let's see what this article says. Strip away the context of the list and pass it as some sort of blue sky social experiment. How would Donald Trump and Henry Kissinger get along? See, the irony is they do get along pretty well because now Henry Kissinger is an advisor to Jared Kushner. That's my editorial there. How about fashion luminary Oscar de la Renta and billionaire New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg? If you were one of 86 people invited to Barbara Amiel's 60th birthday bash in December of 2000, you may have a chance to find out. The party's guest list was presented as evidence in Chicago court yesterday. Table 1, New York Mayor billionaire Michael Bloomberg is at the table. Leading fashion designer Oscar de la Renta is also listed. Now, see, this article, here's my editorial again, this article doesn't go into all of the people who are there, which you might not be able to find Jeff Epstein. This isn't actually the original article that I've read. I think that they placed him at table 3, and you'll see why I think that. Obviously, we can find it because he was there. We can find out where he was later on as I find the court documents. Table 2, author and founder of National Review magazine, William F. Buckley Jr., is seated alongside conservative political advisor Richard Pearl. And Richard Pearl was a board member of Hollinger, and he's also a Mossad asset, and he's on a lot of different boards at the same time. So much so that he's used him as an example in some political science classes to demonstrate conflicts of interest. So there's a textbook out there with a lovely graphic about all of the different boards that Richard Pearl was on at the same time. But going on, billionaire magazine publisher and native Canadian Mort Zuckerman is also seated at the table. Table 3, right-wing journalist Takai Theodorakopoulos, who once spent 4 months in British prison for cocaine possession, seated alongside Slovenian model and Donald Trump's wife, Melania Trump. The table also features a CEO, a politician, and the head of a multi-billion-dollar fund management firm. I think that's Jeff Epstein, who is sitting with Melania Trump. We'll have to find that out. Table 4 and 5 at what could be described as Better Times Table, Hollinger Insider, former CEO of London's Telegraph newspapers, Don Colson is seated as his one-time black friend, turned plea bargain witness David Radler. Table 6, Pulitzer Prize historian Arthur Schlesinger was seated alongside former Time magazine head and U.S. ambassador to Austria, Henry Grunwald. Another noted journalist from Sunday Times editor Sir Harold Evans joins them. Table 7 is former Hollinger executive Peter Atkinson, And that's all that they have there. Table 8 is where the hostess is. This is Conrad Black's wife, Barbara Amiel, had a billionaire real estate tycoon and a Nobel Prize winner for the company. Donald Trump and Henry Kissinger are there with Lady Black, and they're seated at table 8, as is Peter Jennings from ABC World News Tonight. Table 9 was Conrad Black's table, and he was seated with Dame Edna, comedian, I don't know who that is, Dame Edna, comedian Barry Humphries, and American diplomat Richard Holbrooke. Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue and the inspiration for the movie The Devil Wears Prada, is also at the table. And this article goes through all of the stuff that they ate. And it says this is all in the court documents. So it's something that I'm still trying to find, but then I also have the information here. And this is from a document, page 11 of a document headed Notice of Pendency and Proposed Settlements of Class Actions Motions for Attorneys' Fees and Settlement Hearings. And if you go down far enough, to page 11, you find the counsel in the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois. You find the counsel for Hollinger International and a liaison counsel for Hollinger defendants. And who is representing them? Daniel J. Kramer. Daniel J. Kramer is a senior partner of Paul Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton Garrison, LLP. Now, Paul Weiss has also represented other parts of the Anglo-American establishment companies, namely AIG and JP Morgan, which are both part of the kind of post-British East India Company network that also Hollinger is a part of. And also from this group is Trump's Federal Trade Commission chair pick, who is now serving, Joseph Simons. He was a partner from Paul Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison. But even more telling, now there's also a Nathan P. Elmer from Eimer Stahl, Cleveborn, and Solberg LLP that was representing purely just Hollinger Incorporated. So it's different. I guess it's the Canadian company, and the Hollinger International was the multinational. Haven't found much on them, but I'm still looking. Well, furthermore, there's something called KPMG, and this was another part of Hollinger, and I think it was the management group. I think that's what that stands for. But they were represented by John F. Hartmann of Kirkland and Ellis LLP. Now, Kirkland and Ellis is the largest law firm in the United States, but so you'd say, oh, well, of course they deal with this one. But there's actually a lot of people, including Ken Starr, who helped prosecute the Clintons after the Whitewater scandals, which were revealed in Hollinger's newspapers, and the Hollinger journalists dug them up. But you also have people who are a lot a quorum for conflicts of interest from people who are in the Trump administration now. I guess not conflicts of interest, but skullduggery. It's enough to be suspicious. So that includes National Security Advisor John Bolton. You have Attorney General William Barr that came from this group, Alexander Acosta, and you have Alex Azar. You also have Pat Cipollone, who's a White House counsel, Nathan Sales, who's the coordinator for counterterrorism, and this firm also represented Jeffrey Epstein in the sex trafficking case with minors. So I just thought this was all very interesting because we're already making these connections, right? And now we have the same law firms, the same people being used for these things. And the hope is you find enough connections and it gets to the point where you say, yeah, there's a reasonable suspicion here that the Hollinger Corporation kind of is the center of it.